First Contact's Aftermath. The signal that changed everything came on an ordinary day in the Galactic Coalition's monitoring station. Senior observer Zextal's crystalline appendages trembled as he studied the readouts for the third time. The energy signature from the supposedly primitive system designated Sol 3 defied everything the Coalition knew about technological progression. High Commander, Zextal's voice wavered slightly as he addressed his superior. I believe you need to see this. The massive viewing screen illuminated the command center with a soft blue glow, displaying what appeared to be impossible data. The Sol system, home to a species that had barely achieved rudimentary spaceflight 50 years ago, was emanating energy patterns that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years of development. High Commander Vixna glided across the chamber, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with concern. Explain, she commanded, multiple eyes fixed on the disturbing readings. The humans, Zextal began. They've been hiding something. These energy signatures suggest quantum manipulation far beyond even our capabilities. But that's impossible. Their visible technology still relies on chemical propulsion. They haven't even colonized their moon properly. The discussion was interrupted by a transmission that shouldn't have been possible. The Coalition's quantum-encrypted communications network was supposed to be undetectable, let alone penetrable. Yet there it was, a human voice, calm and measured, speaking perfect Coalition standard. Greetings, High Commander Vixna. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We believe it's time for a proper introduction. The command center erupted in chaos. Coalition officers rushed to their stations, defensive systems activated automatically, and emergency protocols initiated. But Vixna raised a limb for silence, her species equivalent of a thoughtful frown crossing her features. You've been aware of our surveillance, she asked, maintaining remarkable composure. A soft chuckle came through the quantum link. We've been aware since your first probe entered our system, roughly 87 years ago. We appreciated the discretion of your observations, but circumstances have changed. We request permission to demonstrate our true capabilities. Before Vixna could respond, the space before their station rippled like water disturbed by a stone. A vessel emerged, but vessel seemed an inadequate word for what they witnessed. It was as if a piece of space itself had decided to take form. The ship, if it could be called that, appeared to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its hull shifting between possibilities like a quantum particle refusing to collapse into a single state. By the first light, Zextal whispered, his scientific training warring with what his senses told him was impossible. The human ship wasn't just advanced, it represented a completely different approach to physics itself. Admiral Chen's image appeared on their main display, a human female wearing what appeared to be a simple gray uniform. What you're seeing is the EDS Silent Thunder. She's our first quantum state vessel, though certainly not our last. We've chosen to reveal ourselves now because we've detected something approaching Coalition space, something that requires both our civilization's full cooperation to address. Vixna's color patterns shifted to deep indigo, a sign of intense focus among her species. You've maintained this deception for nearly a century. Why? Survival, Chen replied simply. Humanity learned early in its development that appearing weak while building strength was preferable to appearing strong and becoming a target. We've spent generations perfecting quantum manipulation technology while maintaining a facade of typical development. But what's coming doesn't care about deception or appearances. The human admiral's expression grew grave. 3 days ago, our quantum detection array picked up signatures of what we call the Nexus Swarm. They're unlike anything either of our civilizations has encountered, a hybrid of organic and mechanical life that exists partially in quantum space. They don't invade worlds, High Commander. They consume them, breaking down matter and consciousness itself into their base components. Zextal's appendages moved rapidly over his console, confirming the human's words. The readings were there, at the very edge of Coalition space, subtle distortions that their systems had dismissed as background noise. The humans hadn't just developed alternative technology. They created new ways of perceiving reality itself. "You're suggesting an alliance," Vixna stated, her patterns now showing traces of cautious curiosity. "I'm suggesting survival," Chen corrected. "The swarm has consumed 3 galaxies that we know of. They're drawn to advanced civilizations, particularly those with quantum technology. We've hidden our true nature for decades, developing defenses and weapons that work on principles your scientists haven't yet discovered. But even that might not be enough without the Coalition's help." The Silent Thunder shifted position, its quantum state drive causing ripples in space-time that the Coalition's sensors struggled to process. "We're transmitting data on the swarm and our quantum technology now," Chen continued. "Our scientists can begin working with yours immediately, but we need to move quickly. The swarm doesn't negotiate, doesn't communicate, and doesn't stop." High Commander Vixna turned to Zextal, who was already deep in analysis of the human data. "Their quantum mechanics. It's extraordinary," he reported, his voice filled with wonder. "They haven't just mastered quantum entanglement. They've found ways to manipulate it on a macro scale. Their ships don't just use quantum effects. They exist in quantum superposition." "And the swarm?" Vixna pressed. "The humans are right," Zextal confirmed grimly. "The signatures are there. By our most conservative estimates, they'll reach Coalition space in less than 6 standard months." Vixna faced the human admiral's image, her pattern language expressing a complex mixture of emotions. "It seems, Admiral Chen, that humanity's deception may have saved more than just Earth. We accept your offer of alliance." Chen nodded, a slight smile crossing her features. "Then let's begin. The swarm is about to learn that humanity doesn't just adapt to survive. We rewrite the rules of survival itself." As the Silent Thunder prepared to escort the Coalition representatives to Earth, Zextal couldn't help but wonder what other secrets humanity had been keeping. They had fooled the entire galaxy into believing they were primitive, all while developing technology that challenged the fundamental laws of physics. Perhaps, he reflected, that was the most human trait of all. The ability to appear harmless while harboring universe-changing potential within. The quantum advantage. The journey to Earth aboard the Silent Thunder defied everything Zextal thought he knew about space travel. The human vessel didn't so much move through space as it existed in multiple locations simultaneously, only collapsing into a definite position when they reached their destination. The process was completely silent, without the characteristic vibration of conventional quantum drives. "Unsettling, isn't it?" Admiral Chen stood beside him at the observation deck. "Even after decades of development, some of our own crews still haven't gotten used to it. We don't technically move through space. We manipulate probability itself to make our destination the most likely location for our existence." High Commander Vixna's patterns shifted in what Zextal recognized as barely contained astonishment. "Your entire species achieved this level of quantum manipulation in less than a century. How?" Chen's expression turned thoughtful. "We discovered something unique about human consciousness during our early quantum computing experiments. While other species focused on building more powerful machines, we found that human minds could naturally interface with quantum systems. We didn't need to create quantum computers. We became them." The Admiral led them through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked, eventually arriving at what appeared to be the ship's control center. But instead of the expected array of control panels and interfaces, they found a circular chamber filled with softly glowing pods, each containing a human operator in a meditative state. "These are our quantum pilots," Chen explained. "They don't control the ship, they imagine its movement, and our quantum systems make that imagination reality. The human mind naturally exists in a state of quantum superposition. Every decision, every thought, creates multiple potential futures. We simply learn to harness that potential." Zextal moved closer to one of the pods, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his diplomatic reserve. The readings from his sensory appendages were extraordinary. Each human operator existed in a state of controlled quantum entanglement. Their consciousness somehow spread across multiple dimensions of reality. "But your visible technology," he began. "A necessary deception," Chen interrupted. "While we developed our quantum technology in secret, we maintained a carefully crafted image of normal technological progression. Those chemical rockets and primitive satellites, props, mostly, carefully designed to be just advanced enough to not draw attention, but not so advanced as to raise suspicion." The Admiral's hand passed through what appeared to be a solid console, manipulating quantum possibilities directly. A holographic display sprang to life, showing the historical progression of human quantum technology. "We made our breakthrough 50 years ago, during what we call the Consciousness Integration Project. Dr. Helen Martinez discovered that human brains naturally perform quantum computations. Our neurons don't just fire in sequence, they exist in quantum superposition, calculating multiple possibilities simultaneously. The implications: Vixness patterns pulsed with rapid calculations. Your entire military isn't what anyone thinks it is," Chen confirmed. "Those outdated missile silos and orbital defense platforms, they're facades. Our real defense system exists in quantum space, invisible and undetectable, until the moment it needs to strike. Every human settlement, from Earth to our secret colonies, is protected by quantum fields that can redirect any attack into parallel possibilities where it never happened." A subtle vibration ran through the ship, if it could truly be called a vibration when it seemed to occur in multiple realities simultaneously. One of the quantum pilots had shifted position, their consciousness reaching out through the ship's systems. "We've detected a swarm scout," Chen announced, her voice tight with controlled tension. "Showing you now." The quantum display shifted, revealing something that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. The swarm vessel existed as a writhing mass of biomechanical matter, its form constantly shifting between states of existence. But unlike the controlled quantum transitions of the silent thunder, these shifts were violent, forcing reality to bend around them. "This is why we revealed ourselves," Chen explained grimly. "The swarm doesn't just use quantum technology, they corrupt it. They force their way through reality, breaking down the barriers between possibilities. Every world they consume becomes fuel for their violation of physics itself." Zextel's appendages trembled as he processed the implications. "Your quantum technology. It's not just about transportation or defense, is it? You've been preparing for this specific threat." Chen's smile was sharp and without humor. "Humanity has always excelled at preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. We developed our quantum technology not just to advance our civilization, but because we detected the swarm's quantum corruption decades ago. We knew they were coming, and we knew conventional weapons would be useless against them." "Then why maintain the deception for so long?" Vixna demanded. "The Coalition could have helped." "Could you have?" Chen questioned softly. "Your civilization followed the expected path of technological development. You built bigger ships, more powerful weapons, more efficient drives. But the swarm doesn't operate by expected rules. They don't just destroy worlds, they erase them from possibility itself. We needed to develop defenses that operated on the same fundamental level." The quantum display shifted again, showing Earth's true defensive capabilities. What had appeared to be a primitive planetary defense system was revealed as an intricate web of quantum possibilities, each layer capable of shifting an attack into a reality where it never existed. "We're not just fighting a war for territory or resources," Chen concluded. "We're fighting for the right of reality itself to remain stable. The swarm represents entropy given consciousness, chaos with purpose. And now, finally, we need allies who can help us face them, not with conventional weapons, but with an understanding of what's really at stake." As if to emphasize her words, the swarm scout vessel suddenly vanished from their sensors, but not before transmitting a signal that made the quantum pilots writhe in their pods. The battle for reality itself was about to begin, and humanity's greatest deception would become their greatest advantage. "The swarm approaches." The emergency quantum conference chamber aboard the Silent Thunder hummed with tension as representatives from 27 coalition species gathered to witness humanity's full briefing on the swarm. Admiral Chen stood at the center of the room, her form simultaneously present and quantum projected to thousands of other locations across coalition space. The swarm scout we detected was just the beginning, she began, her voice grave. Our quantum arrays have detected their main force, over 10,000 biomechanical entities, each capable of consuming an entire planet's worth of matter and consciousness. They're not just approaching, they're accelerating. The quantum display showed the swarm's advance, a writhing mass of corrupted space-time that devoured everything in its path. Stars dimmed as they passed, their quantum states corrupted and collapsed into singular, entropy-bound points of darkness. Zextal's scientific training warred with his growing horror. The stellar degradation patterns. They're not just destroying these systems, they're removing them from the quantum possibility matrix entirely. Correct, Chen confirmed. The swarm doesn't just kill, they erase. Every civilization they've encountered has been removed not just from existence, but from the possibility of existence. It's why we hid our quantum technology. The more advanced a civilization's quantum manipulation capabilities, the more attracted the swarm becomes to it. High Commander Vixna's patterns shifted to deep crimson, a sign of tactical assessment. Your deception was never about hiding from the coalition. You were hiding from them. Partially, Chen acknowledged. But we were also preparing. Every primitive-looking defense platform we built contains quantum possibility generators. Every outdated satellite houses technology that can redirect swarm attacks into parallel timelines where they never occurred. We've been building a quantum defense grid that encompasses not just Earth, but the entire Sol system. The display shifted, showing the true nature of Earth's defenses. What had appeared to be simple orbital platforms were revealed as nexus points in a vast web of quantum possibilities, each capable of rewriting local reality if necessary. But it won't be enough, Chen continued. The swarm is larger than anything we've theoretically prepared for. We need the coalition's help, not your quantum technology, which would only attract them more strongly, but your conventional forces. While our quantum defenses deal with their reality warping capabilities, we need your ships to engage their physical forms. A new figure stepped forward, Dr. Helen Martinez, the pioneer of human quantum integration. Her aged face bore the weight of decades of secret preparation. The swarm's weakness is their hybrid nature. They exist simultaneously in normal space and quantum space, but this makes them vulnerable. If we can engage them in both spaces simultaneously. You want to use our fleet as a physical anchor, Vixna realized, her patterns showing sudden understanding. While your quantum technology attacks their higher dimensional aspects, we can collapse their quantum state into a single reality, Martinez confirmed, one where they can be destroyed by conventional weapons. But the timing must be perfect. A millisecond's delay between the quantum collapse and the physical strike would allow them to shift to another probability stream. The chamber erupted in multilingual discussion as coalition representatives debated the proposition. The plan was audacious, combining humanity's hidden quantum capabilities with the coalition's vast fleet in a way never before attempted. There's something else you need to understand. Chen cut through the chaos. The swarm isn't mindless. They're conscious, after a fashion. They remember every reality they've consumed, every possibility they've erased. And now they know about us, about humanity's quantum deception. We've become their primary target. The quantum display updated, showing the swarm's altered course. They were no longer heading for the nearest coalition worlds. They were coming straight for Earth. How long? Vixna demanded. 4 days, Chen replied grimly. They've altered their quantum state to achieve faster-than-light travel we didn't think was possible. They're tearing through the fabric of space-time itself to reach us. Martinez stepped forward again, her hands manipulating quantum possibilities to show a detailed battle plan. We've developed a defense strategy we call Operation Quantum Lock. It will require perfect coordination between coalition forces and our quantum pilots. One mistake, 1 millisecond of misalignment, and we lose everything. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a battle for territory or resources. It was a fight for the very nature of reality itself. If the swarm couldn't be stopped, they wouldn't just destroy Earth and the coalition worlds. They would erase them from every possible timeline, every potential future. "We have 4 days to prepare," Chen announced. 4 days to train your crews to coordinate with our quantum pilots. 4 days to synchronize our technologies and create something the swarm has never encountered. A unified defense operating in both normal and quantum space simultaneously. Zextal watched as the coalition representatives, one by one, signaled their agreement. His scientific mind was already racing with the implications of what they were attempting. They weren't just combining forces. They were attempting to synthesize 2 entirely different approaches to reality itself. As the chamber emptied and preparations began, he approached Admiral Chen privately. "The swarm scout," he began hesitantly. "It transmitted something that affected your quantum pilots. What did it show them?" Chen's expression darkened. "Every possible future where they win. Every reality where Earth, the coalition, all of it, becomes nothing more than fuel for their entropy engines. But they showed us something else too, something they didn't intend." "What?" "That they're afraid." Chen smiled grimly. "For the first time in their existence, they've encountered something they don't understand. They can predict conventional weapons, quantum technology, even the manipulation of probability itself. But they've never encountered a species that could hide its true nature across multiple realities simultaneously. They've never faced an enemy that could think like they do, and choose not to become like them." The Silent Thunder's quantum drive hummed as it prepared to coordinate the largest joint military operation in galactic history. In 4 days, they would either make history or be erased from it entirely. There would be no middle ground, no alternate timeline to fall back on. The battle for reality itself was about to begin. Battle for tomorrow. The quantum sensors detected the swarm's arrival 3 hours before their physical manifestation. Reality itself shuddered as they tore through the fabric of space-time, a vast armada of biomechanical horrors that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The combined coalition human fleet held position at the quantum defense grid's outer perimeter, every ship crew linked to human quantum pilots through newly developed interfaces. Admiral Chen stood on the Silent Thunder's command deck, her consciousness partially merged with the ship's quantum systems. Beside her, High Commander Vixna coordinated the coalition's conventional forces, over 3,000 ships arranged in a multilayered defensive formation. "They're approaching the first quantum threshold," Dr. Martinez announced from her station, her aged hands dancing through holographic probability streams. "Remember, everyone, the moment they breach the outer quantum field, we'll have exactly 2.3 seconds to synchronize our attack across all probability states." The swarm came into visual range, their ships defying description in normal space. Each vessel appeared to be composed of writhing tendrils of darkness that consumed light itself, their forms shifting between dozens of possible configurations every second. The sight drove several coalition sensor operators into temporary shock before their emergency protocols kicked in. "Coalition fleet, maintain formation," Vixna commanded, her patterns pulsing with controlled tension. "Remember your training. Don't focus on what you're seeing. Trust your instruments and your human quantum partners." The first wave of swarm ships hit the outer quantum field. Reality flickered as they attempted to corrupt the defensive barrier, forcing their way through probability itself. But humanity's quantum pilots were ready. Years of preparation paid off as they redirected the swarm's quantum corruption into carefully prepared probability sinks. Now, Chen's order rang across both normal and quantum space. "Operation Quantum Lock, initiate." The battle erupted across multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Coalition ships launched conventional attacks, their weapons coordinated precisely with quantum shifts initiated by human pilots. Where the swarm attempted to shift between probabilities to avoid damage, they found themselves locked into single states by carefully coordinated quantum fields. "It's working," Zextal reported from his science station, his appendages trembling with excitement. "The combined attacks are forcing them to maintain temporal coherence." But the swarm hadn't consumed 3 galaxies by being predictable. Their response was immediate and devastating. Several ships merged into a singular entity that existed in quantum superposition, creating a cascade of probability failures that threatened to tear apart the fabric of local spacetime. Quantum breach in Sector 7. Martinez's voice was tight with strain. "They're attempting to collapse all probability streams into a single timeline, one where they've already won." Chen's response was instant. "All quantum pilots, initiate Protocol Omega. Coalition forces, fall back to secondary positions." The Silent Thunder's quantum drive engaged, but not to retreat. Instead, the ship began to exist in multiple states simultaneously, each version attacking the swarm's probability nexus from a different angle of reality. The strain on the quantum pilots was enormous. Several collapsed, blood trickling from their noses as their minds struggled to maintain coherence across multiple timelines. "We can't maintain this level of quantum dispersion," Martins warned. "The human mind was never meant to exist in this many states simultaneously." "We don't need to maintain it," Chen replied. Her own consciousness stretched across probability itself. "We just need to hold them long enough for the trap to work." The trap was elegant in its simplicity. While the swarm focused on corrupting quantum space, coalition ships had been laying a web of conventional spacetime charges, devices that could temporarily suppress all quantum effects in a localized area. The human quantum pilots had kept the swarm distracted, forcing them to commit more and more of their consciousness to quantum space. "Coalition forces, clear the zone," Vixna ordered. "Quantum suppression field activating in 5, 4. The swarm realized the trap too late. As they committed fully to quantum space to launch their final attack, the suppression charges detonated. In an instant, a sphere of space 50 light-minutes in diameter was forced into quantum coherence. No probability shifts, no timeline manipulation. Just cold, hard, singular reality. The effect on the swarm was catastrophic. Beings that existed primarily in quantum space found themselves suddenly forced into a single state of existence. Ships that had been spread across multiple probabilities collapsed into single points of reality, their biomechanical forms unable to maintain integrity without their quantum aspects. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Dozens of human quantum pilots died in the recoil, their minds unable to disengage from quantum space fast enough. The Silent Thunder itself barely survived, its quantum systems permanently damaged by the forced probability collapse. As the quantum suppression field began to fade, the remaining swarm vessels did something unprecedented. They retreated, tearing holes in reality itself to escape. They left behind the wreckage of their fallen, along with a revelation that would change the galaxy forever. They could be beaten. The command deck of the Silent Thunder was eerily quiet in the aftermath. Coalition crews worked alongside human medical teams to treat the injured and count the cost of their victory. But among the grief and exhaustion, there was also hope. "They'll be back," Chen said quietly, looking out at the debris field that had once been the swarm's main fleet. "They'll adapt, find new ways to corrupt reality itself. But now we know something they don't." "What's that?" Vixna asked, her patterns showing a complex mix of triumph and sorrow. "That reality isn't just about possibility," Chen replied. "It's about choice. They chose to consume, to corrupt. We chose to preserve, to protect. And in the end, that made all the difference. The battle was over, but its implications were just beginning to ripple across the galaxy. Humanity had revealed not just their true technological capability, but their fundamental nature, adaptable, unpredictable, and willing to sacrifice everything to protect not just their own existence, but the very fabric of reality itself. New Dawn. 1 month after the Battle of the Quantum Void, as historians were already calling it. Earth hosted the first-ever Joint Human Coalition Strategic Council. The meeting took place simultaneously in normal space and across quantum wavelengths, a symbol of the new era of cooperation between the two civilizations. The Silent Thunder, partially repaired but bearing permanent scars from the quantum suppression event, hung in orbit alongside coalition vessels. Its quantum drive would never achieve full capacity again, but like humanity itself, it had adapted. New systems, hybrid technologies born from the merger of human quantum science and coalition engineering, had given the ship capabilities that neither civilization had thought possible. Admiral Chen, still recovering from the neural strain of the battle, stood before the assembled representatives. The loss of 37 quantum pilots had left a void in Earth's defense network, but it had also sparked a revolution in how humanity approached their unique abilities. "The swarm's retreat has given us time," she began, her voice carrying across both physical and quantum channels, "but not victory. Our quantum sensors have detected them regrouping at the edges of known space, evolving, adapting. When they return, they'll be ready for our quantum suppression tactics." High Commander Vixna, her patterns showing the new complexity of emotion that came from witnessing humanity's true nature, stepped forward. "The Coalition has already begun implementing the defensive strategies we developed together. Our shipyards are producing hybrid vessels, combining our conventional technology with quantum-resistant architecture." "But technology alone isn't the answer," Dr. Martinez interjected. The elderly scientist had refused to retire, despite the trauma of losing so many pilots under her care. "The swarm showed us something crucial about the nature of reality itself. It's not just about manipulation of quantum states. It's about the consciousness behind those manipulations." Zextel, recently appointed as the head of the new Joint Species Research Initiative, activated a holographic display showing the latest findings. "We've discovered that human quantum abilities aren't unique. They're just more developed. Every sentient species has the potential for quantum consciousness. The coalition races have simply evolved along a different path, focusing on external technology rather than internal potential." The implications were staggering. Already, volunteer groups from various coalition species had begun training with human quantum mentors, discovering their own latent abilities to perceive and influence quantum states. It wasn't just about teaching new technology. It was about awakening capabilities that had laid dormant for millennia. "But we've also learned humility," Chen continued. "Humanity's greatest advantage wasn't our quantum technology or our ability to hide it. It was our understanding that no single approach, no matter how advanced, is enough on its own. The swarm nearly won because they believed in the supremacy of their quantum corruption. We survived because we learned to balance between states, between possibilities." The display shifted to show the new defensive network being constructed throughout coalition space. Unlike Earth's purely quantum-based defenses, these incorporated elements from both civilizations. Conventional weapons platforms were enhanced with quantum prediction algorithms, while quantum field generators were anchored by coalition mass effect technology. "We're not just preparing for the swarm's return," Vixna announced. "We're evolving beyond what either of our civilizations thought possible. The barriers between quantum and conventional space, between different species' approaches to reality itself, are breaking down." A junior coalition scientist interrupted with urgent news. The first successful quantum link between a coalition pilot and a human quantum mentor had just been established. The achievement was more than technical. It represented a fundamental shift in what was thought possible. "This is what the swarm truly fears," Martinez observed, watching the data streams from the successful link. "Not our weapons or our defenses, but our ability to change, to grow, to become more than what we were without losing what we are. They consume possibilities. We create them." As the council session continued, discussion turned to the future. The galaxy was changing in ways no one had predicted. Humanity's deception had preserved not just their own civilization, but had given the galaxy time to prepare for a threat it hadn't known existed. Now that same creativity and adaptability was reshaping galactic society itself. We don't know when the swarm will return, Chen concluded, but we know they'll find something very different waiting for them. Not just humans hiding their true nature, not just the Coalition's vast fleets, but something new. A civilization that exists in both quantum and conventional space, that embraces both possibility and certainty. The Silent Thunder's quantum sensors continued their vigilant watch, detecting subtle shifts in reality that might herald the swarm's return. But now they were joined by Coalition sensors, by hybrid chips, and awakening quantum minds from a dozen different species. The galaxy was preparing not just for war, but for a fundamental transformation in how sentient beings perceived and interacted with reality itself. As the council session ended, Zextol found himself in the Silent Thunder's observation deck, watching Earth rotate below. "You know," he said to Admiral Chen, who had joined him quietly, "when we first detected your quantum signatures, we thought we were discovering a primitive species' first steps into advanced technology. And instead, we discovered that we were the primitive ones, in our way. We thought we understood the universe, had categorized and classified everything neatly. Humanity showed us that the universe is stranger, more wonderful, and more dangerous than we ever imagined." Chen smiled, watching as a Coalition ship practiced its first quantum-assisted maneuver, its crew learning to think in possibilities rather than certainties. That's the real lesson, isn't it? Not that humanity was stronger or smarter, but that we all have so much more to learn. From each other, from our mistakes, from the very fabric of reality itself. The quantum sensors pulsed, detecting another successful link between species, another small step toward a future where the barriers between possible and impossible continued to blur. The swarm had meant to end possibility itself, to consume all potential into a single entropy-bound state. Instead, they had catalyzed an explosion of new possibilities, new connections, new ways of thinking about existence itself. The battle was over, but the revolution, in technology, in consciousness, in the very way life approached reality, was just beginning. And somewhere, in the quantum realm where possibility itself took form, the future waited to be shaped by minds that finally understood the true nature of their own potential.